Hey, what the hell are you doing? How are you? It's me, Nick Digilio. Thanks for checking out my YouTube channel. Thanks for checking out my Patreon page. And if you're at my Patreon page, that means that you should donate. You can check me out on podcasts. I got 2 of them. The Nick D Podcast, which is a pop culture entertainment podcast with movie reviews and book reviews and music and all kinds of cool guests and all kinds of great stuff. Very similar to my old radio show. And then my other podcast is all about Saturday Night Live. It's called That Show Hasn't Been Funny in Years, an SNL podcast. Both podcasts are free. You can listen to them, download them, rate, review them, spread the word, like, all that stuff. RadioMisfits.com. I'm part of the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. Those 2 podcasts are free. Check them out. I also appear on The Steve Cochran Show. I'm the movie critic at WLS AM 890, The Big 89. On Fridays, you can hear me on Friday mornings, select Friday mornings. On WLS AM 890, on The Steve Cochran Show, I'm the film critic there. And you can check me out on all over the place. All the stuff I do is for free. So if you feel generous, donate some money to my Patreon page, patreon.com/NickDShow. And that's where you can help out. I am a professional movie critic. I am a member of the Chicago Film Critics Association. I have been reviewing movies for 37 some years. I'm old as hell, and I've been doing it for a long time. Today was the first day/night of the Chicago Critics Film Festival, which was put together by my comrades in the Chicago Film Critics Association. Brian Tellerico and Eric Childress are the producers. Those are the guys that put the whole thing together. And then there are several other people that help out in programming and picking the movies and helping out. And in addition to the people who are part of the Chicago Film Critics Association and help program it and pick the movies for the film festival, every year it is now being given and shown at the Music Box Theater, which is the best theater in the country. And the staff and Ryan and everybody, the managers and the people that work there, everybody who works at the Music Box are great. Venue is the best in the world. So it is a great film festival at a great venue, managed by great people, put together by my friends, and so on and so forth. So you should check it out. It is the only film festival in the world that is actually programmed by film critics. And the idea that these guys had, that Eric had and Brian had, was that they would go to Toronto, and they would go to South by Southwest. They would go to Sundance and all these other film festivals around the world and stuff. And they wanted to bring those movies to one place, one centrally located place. They wanted to give Chicago movie lovers and fans a chance to see a bunch of movies that played at different film festivals all over the place, but you don't have to go all over the place. Just go to the Music Box. That was the idea. Well, that was the idea, and it launched in 2013. It's 10 years, and it's now the 10th anniversary. See that? 10th anniversary. This is my press pass because I'm all important and shit. Anyway, so there you go. So it's the press pass, and it's the 10th anniversary of the Chicago Critics Film Festival. And it began tonight. There's your program. There it is right there. And it's all, look, it's a program. And there's stuff in it, and you can read it. So anyway, they launched tonight on a beautiful night. And they had a big opening night celebration. Everybody was happy. And this will be happening for a full week. So tonight is night 1, and I will be giving you my reviews of every movie that I see, because I'm going to go every single night of the fest, except for one. I can't go on Monday night when they're showing the right stuff. I'm really pissed. I can't go. Not long story, but anyway, I can't go and see one of the greatest movies ever made, Philip Kaufman's The Right Stuff, in 35mm on the big screen. You can, though, and you should go Monday night to see it, because it's an unbelievably amazing movie. So you should check that out. Monday, May 8th, Monday night, 7 o'clock. I can't make it. That's the only night that I'm not going to be there. Otherwise, I'm going to be at every single day/night, and I'm going to see every single film there. So I started tonight. And tonight was the big opening night. And their big opening night movie, I saw 2 movies tonight. I did not stay for the midnight show. The midnight show was a special screening, an anniversary screening of the 25th anniversary of the release of the sci-fi movie Dark City, which people like. I don't. So I did not stay for that. But they had a nice big crowd. They had a 35mm print. They got the director to actually introduce it on video beforehand. They had a nice big crowd. Perfect movie for a midnight show at the Music Box. And it was a great way to close out the night. I, however, think that movie is a lot of horse shit. So I did not stay. But I did see the very first 2 movies for opening night. And I am going to review them right now. So the first movie, their big opening night movie, where they had the star, the co-writer, and the director there in person. that would be Matt Johnson. He was there to do a Q&A afterwards, and he co-wrote it. He's also in it, and it is about the invention of the BlackBerry. You remember the phone / email / computer that kind of changed the world and became became this status symbol kind of thing. Everybody knows what the BlackBerry was. It had like a keyboard that you could click on, and it was the first phone where you could do the email thing and plan you can have your whole business inside your phone. Everything that we do now that we take for granted with our smartphones and whatever, if you have an iPhone, if you have Apple, if you don't, if you had Samsung, whatever, if you have a smartphone of any kind, this was the hippest and the first one. We all know what the BlackBerry was. The movie is about the invention of the BlackBerry, how it started, how it became incredibly popular, how it dominated the industry for years, how these two goofballs, geeks, became millionaires, and how the BlackBerry stormed the market, dominated for many years, and then as quickly as it shot up, completely died out after the iPhone was introduced and Apple basically took over. And the idea of having like a clicky keyboard on your phone was passé. So it's about that. And it's called Blackberry. And again, it is one of these movies there seem to be a bunch of these movies now about sort of the origin stories of businesses and things like that. Like this year we had, Tetris was more about spies and the Russian Cold War than it was about the invention and the execution and the business side of Tetris, but that was the background of it. And there was Air, which was the movie that was about the making of the Air Jordan shoe and how Nike, the underdogs in the business world were pushing that boulder up the hill to try and sign Michael Jordan so that they could sell their shoes and create this brand new shoe. So it was a behind-the-scenes business movie about underdogs and goofballs trying to make millions of dollars and launch a product. And we've had a couple of those. And Blackberry is that same kind of story, exactly the same kind of story. And obviously it'll draw comparisons to The Social Network, which was David Fincher's fantastic movie written by Aaron Sorkin back in 2010. And it was about, obviously, the creation of Facebook. We all know the movie. We've all seen it. And it's a great film, a fantastic movie. And clearly, this is the movie that they are inspired by. Matt Johnson and his co-writers and the people involved in this movie. There's no way that you can't watch this movie and not think of The Social Network. And that's one of the many things that's the problem with this movie. I did not like Blackberry. This is weird because this is 2 years in a row now where I love my friends and I love the Chicago Critics Film Festival and I want to support them. This is the second year in a row where I really disliked their opening night movie. And I did not like fucking Blackberry at all. There were things about it that I liked it more than their opening night from last year. Last year was that Cha-Cha movie with that Jagoff. I can't remember the idiot's name. But anyway, I liked it more than the Cha-Cha movie, and I hated the Cha-Cha movie. But I still can't recommend Blackberry. It's not a good movie, especially coming on the heels of a movie like Air, which deals with the same kind of subject matter. Behind-the-scenes, underdog, kind of goofy sons of bitches who are trying to launch a product or create something to make a business successful, and they've never really done it, and they don't really know what they're doing, and they're fucking around, and they're trying new things out. It's about the creation of a product and the behind-the-scenes things that go on in real life, and that's what Air was about, and that's what this is about. That's what The Social Network was about. And by far, the least of these three is this Blackberry movie. The problem with the movie is Jay Baruchel is in it. He plays the main character, Mike Lezardardis, and then his business partner is Douglas Fragan. He's played by Matt Johnson, the guy who was there tonight for the Q&A afterwards, who also co-wrote it and directed the movie. And it's about these two guys. They're dorks. They don't have any business sense whatsoever. And so all of a sudden, Glenn Howerton plays this guy, based on a real dude, who sweeps in. He's a really savvy, really also asshole business guy who comes in and says that he will fund them and he wants to be CEO of the company. He will take over their shitty little company where they got nothing but nerds working on stuff on their computers. This starts in 1996. And he will take over the company and make them successful. And with the help of Glenn Howerton's very, very sneaky, loud, boorish, asshole business guy who comes in as CEO, he helps the nerds create the BlackBerry and become hugely successful and become rich. And then it all falls apart. So you've got to have that happen, the up and down of what happens. So that's the basic core of it. Glenn Howerton, who we all know from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and this is a very different kind of character than he's ever played before. And you know Jay Baruchel, and there's other people in the movie that you've seen before. There are some cameos by people that I like very much, and I'll get to that in a second. But it's basically about underdogs and computer dorks. Lots of people with glasses, lots of nerds. There's lots of movie posters and nerdy lines and quoting from dialogue. And in fact, the characters don't really exist. They're based on real people. But this screenplay and the way it's directed, which is really ham-fisted and a lot of weird docudrama, shaky cam shit that doesn't work at all and becomes annoying within about 4 minutes into the movie. The characters are one-dimensional. They're all bad wigs, bad haircuts, and t-shirts. So instead of actually writing three-dimensional characters, they gave the actors and actresses bad wigs, or they would shave their heads, in the case of Glenn Howerton, who's bald, and it's completely distracting and doesn't look good. The costumes look fake. The wigs look fake. Everything about this movie looks like it's a sitcom. Everything about it looks like it's a 120-minute SNL sketch. It does not seem real at all. It does not flesh out the characters in any way. You don't care about anybody in this movie. The relationships that are kind of forced upon you in the last third of the movie, when everything goes kablooey, you suddenly are put in a position where you're supposed to care about these people who, for the first hour and a half of the movie, are nothing but bad wigs, weird costumes that seem like straight out of a bad sketch comedy show. So you've got characters that are basically nothing more than defined by their costumes and their bad wigs or their lack of hair. So that's it. You got a whole bunch of needle drops of songs from the 90s and the early 2000s. There are laughs here and there that seem very, very forced. There's no tension whatsoever. If you know the story at all, you know it's going to go up and then down. And that last third of the movie is interminably long. Like the last half hour of this movie, it's like it just goes on and on and on and on and on and on. And now we're suddenly supposed to care about these one-dimensional caricature wig-wearing jagoffs that are really poorly written. Now we're supposed to care about them, whereas we were mocking them in the first part. There's a lot of people wearing there's one of the main characters just walks around with John Carpenter movie t-shirts on and drops a few movie lines here and there, and that's supposed to be a character. And you don't care about what's happening. Now, some of the supporting cast that comes in. Michael Ironside shows up in this movie. It's always great to see him, a veteran of fantastic movies, from Starship Troopers to Visiting Hours to Scanners. He's also on Barry right now. He's fantastic. Saul Rubinek, one of my favorite supporting character actors of all time. You know him from so many movies, Unforgiven and a ton of other shit. Saul Rubinek rules the planet. He's in it. Cary Elwes plays a competitor who is the guy who invented Palm Pilot. He's in it. He has a few moments. But for the most part, the comedy is forced. The characters are completely one-dimensional, defined nothing by nothing but really horrible costumes and bad wigs. And then it all tries to come together with some sort of meaning at the end. The final shot of the movie is projected 2 seconds into the movie. You know exactly what's going to happen in the final moment of the movie. And there are no surprises. There are very few laughs. A couple of entertaining moments here and there. There's a subplot involving the Glenn Howerton character trying to take a team from the NHL and move them, and then try to buy the NHL, which I think is a much more interesting movie than what they made here. And as a result, didn't give a shit at all. We all know what happened to Blackberry. We all know how it started, and we all know that Apple and all the other smartphones just buried it. So it's not a story with any surprises, and it's told really poorly, really badly directed, especially technically, and a really one-dimensional script with really throwaway gag characters. This is the way I've described it. It was like if The Social Network were made for TV. Okay, if it's The Social Network was a made for USA movie that followed an episode of Suits. You know what I mean? That's what it's like. It's that quality. It's kind of Blackberry, this movie Blackberry is The Social Network if it had been made by people with no talent and it was made for the USA Network and it was on after Burn Notice. That's the quality we're talking about. Not a good movie at all. So I say no on Blackberry. The director, writer, co-writer, and star was there for a Q&A. I didn't stay. I didn't like the movie, and I didn't give a shit what the guy had to say. Steve Procopi, our old friend, he did the Q&A. I'm sure he did a marvelous job, but I did not want to hear what that guy had to say because the 2-hour movie he made me just want to leave. So I went to D'Agostino's, and I got a big slice of pizza. Had a lovely time eating the pizza. And then I came back for the second movie of opening night, and it's a film called Sanctuary. And this is a movie that is directed by Zachary Wigan, and it's written by Micah Bloomberg, who is the creator of the show Homecoming, which was an anthology show which also featured a bunch of stars, a bunch of different stories, really good stuff, and it also featured Julia Roberts. This was written by Micah Bloomberg and directed by Zachary Wigan, and it stars Margaret Qualley and Christopher Abbott. And I hesitate. It's basically a two-person show. Almost the entire movie, virtually the entire movie, takes place in a hotel suite. Not unlike a movie that they showed last year at the festival called Good Luck to You, Leo Grand with Emma Thompson. But anyway, they're giving stuff away. I don't really want to give much away. This movie opens up at the end of May, nationwide, I think June 2nd here in Chicago. It's called Sanctuary. And it is about these two people. One of them might be a dominatrix, and the other one is a business guy who is the son of a very rich person, a father who passed away, and he is inheriting this gigantic chain of hugely successful luxury hotels. So he's a multi-millionaire, and he likes to play little role-playing games with this dominatrix who shows up to his hotel room. The dominatrix, played by Margaret Qualley, and the rich guy inheriting all the stuff is played by Christopher Abbott. And it's about the games they play within the hotel room, the power games that they play, the sexual activity that they have, and it's about getting to know who these people are, what their flaws are, and their characters, and what they want, and how they can coexist within this structure of you're playing a role with me, we are dominatrix, we have this weird sort of relationship that does not exist in the real world. So the real world that the dominatrix has, and the real world that the businessman has, is completely separate from the sex games and the power games and the dominatrix games that they play within this hotel room. And that's what the movie's about. I don't want to say too much more about the movie, and I think I've already given too much away, quite frankly, because one of the joys of this movie is seeing how the two actors play off one another and how the power shifts and how the story is filled with surprises, and mostly filled with surprises by the unbelievable character-driven dialogue and actions that happen in this movie. It's the complete opposite of Blackberry, because this movie, Sanctuary, has two fully realized, real, three-dimensional characters that are not defined by their fucking t-shirts and their wigs. Like, these are well-written three-dimensional characters that are deep and significant, and that's what this movie is about. It's about uncovering what happens between these two people. They are rich and interesting characters. One might be this spoiled, rotten, rich, inherited, a guy who's inherited millions of dollars, and the other one might be like a dominatrix prostitute who has lived this life. But there's much more going on underneath the dominatrix and the businessman. There's much more going on beneath the weird chick and the the son of the rich guy who likes to be dominated, and it all comes together. It is kinky. It's intense. It's sometimes very, very strange. There's a lot. It does not shy away from the please treat me like dirt, you're a dominatrix, kind of like, you're in power, I will get on my knees, I will clean a toilet. You know what I mean? All that sex kind of power dominatrix stuff, it's in here on full display. But you have two of the best actors on the planet. Christopher Abbott, who has been amazing in everything. I love the guy. I've always loved him. James White, by the way, if you've never seen that movie, you should. And Margaret Qualley, who a lot of people remember first bursting onto the scene in a bunch of stuff, but especially Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the Quentin Tarantino movie. She is fantastic in this movie. They're both great, but Margaret Qualley, really, it's a star-making performance. If you do not fall in love with Margaret Qualley in this movie, you're not human. Like, I fell in love with her. And it's two great actors doing great stuff. It's very, very kinky. It's very, very dark. It's very, very intense. It's very, very twisted. It's a really, really, it's a great movie about a couple of fucked up people who do a lot of fucked up stuff in a lot of fucked up ways. But it's also, I think, beautiful. I think it's very romantic. I personally think it's kind of a rom-com, and it's my kind of rom-com, okay? It's got, like, dominatrix stuff in it, and it's got, like, beat me if you want to, and it's got you will dominate me, and we might have a relationship, we might not. It's about some fucked up people in a fucked up relationship, but it's not a fucked up movie. It's a beautiful movie. And I loved it. I absolutely, absolutely loved it. I think it's a beautiful movie. I think it's a very romantic movie. When I said that afterwards to the people in the lobby, we were talking about it afterwards, people thought I was nuts. They're like, you thought that movie was funny? You thought that movie was romantic? I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was beautiful and life-affirming and romantic as hell. It's also dark, twisted, and fucked up in a deep, significant way. So don't think you're walking into your regular dipshit rom-com. This is a challenging, fucking twisted movie, and it's awesome, and it's beautiful, and it's moving, and it's lovely. And I loved it. And Margaret Qualley, again, Margaret fucking Qualley, star-making performance. And if you do not fall head over heels in love with her, there's about something wrong with you. And of course, Christopher Abbott rules. And it's just a two-person show. They're the only people in the movie, almost the only people in the movie, and almost all takes place in this hotel room. So it's an intense one-on-one to watch two great actors at the height of their power with a great script and three-dimensional characters really sparring with each other. It's a joy to watch. And it's also a great movie about performances. It's a great movie that kind of is about theater. And if you've done theater, you've been part of theater, it's a very theatrical film. And to be sucked into the world of performance, to be sucked into the world of doing a show and loving it and getting so intense into performance that it takes over your life, anybody who's done theater knows that that's a legit thing. And that's what this movie's about too. It's a great allegory for theater and performances and acting. A great movie about acting, a great movie about love, and a really twisted, fucked up movie. And if you like kinky shit, there's kinky dominatrix shit in this too. I loved it. And it was a great way to follow up Blackberry, which was a dumbass movie, really insignificant, very much like a made-for-TV nonsense movie. And then suddenly here's something that's a lot darker, a lot more twisted, fucking lot more interesting, with actual three-dimensional characters in it. So, Sanctuary, a big fat yes. Loved it. Blackberry, not so much. I did not stay for Dark City, the midnight show. But I will be going tomorrow for the full day. I will not be staying for the midnight show. Tomorrow's midnight show is A Disturbance in the Force, which is a documentary about the infamous Star Wars holiday Christmas special. I've already seen it, and it's really terrific. And if you've not seen it, you should. That's at midnight. But I will see Colin Suter has programmed a bunch of great shorts. So the shorts program is first. Then I'm going to see a film called A Fire. Then The Unknown Country, then a couple of horror movies, Birth, Rebirth, and Brooklyn 45. And for The Unknown Country, Birth, Rebirth, and Brooklyn 45, there are Q&As afterwards with the filmmakers who are going to be live there. This is what you get to see. And these Q&As are conducted by guys who know what the fuck they're doing. Steve Procopi knows what the fuck he's doing. And so does Brian, and so does Peter, and so does Colin. All these guys who I respect, who I've known for many years, who have taken this organization that I was a part of since the beginning. I've been there since day one. I'm old as fuck. And what they've done with this organization, which in my opinion has gone up and down in terms of like quality, and like sometimes I dropped out of the organization because I thought it kind of got shitty every once in a while. But I'm back in, and what these guys have done with the organization, the Chicago Film Critics Association, and what they've done with this film festival is not only admirable, but fucking great. They do a great job. Congratulations to my goddamn friends. I love them. I love hanging out in the lobby and talking to them and hanging out with the people that work at the Music Box. I just love it. I love just hanging out in the lobby and seeing great movies. These are my friends, and it's movies. And this is a week that I'm loving. I loved doing it last year, and I'm loving it even more. It's only been one night, and I can't wait. So, get your ass to the Music Box Theater. It runs through the 11th. MusicBoxTheater.com for a full schedule, passes, and individual tickets. Lots of great guests, lots of great movies, and a very successful opening night. Tons of people were there for and to be fair, most people like Blackberry. The place was pretty packed, and most of the people in the audience really loved it. I'm in the minority in thinking it's a piece of shit, but that's just me. But Sanctuary rules. So anyway. All right, so day one in the books, one not good movie and one great movie. And a whole bunch coming up more. So anyway, get there. Yeah, there's what it is. There it is. Here, look. There it is. You get a program. There you go. And when you go, you can actually vote on movies. When you go, they give you a ballot. And you can tear off between 1 through 5 on what you think how good a movie is. So you vote, and you are one of the people that votes for the only movie that gets an award is the audience award. So you can be a part of giving an award to one of these films. So there you go. All right. congratulations to everybody involved. It's just one night, man. I'm going to be there all week. You're going to get sick of my dumb ass. But anyway, yeah, there it is. MusicBoxTheater.com.